I used to wake up at 3 a.m. with my heart pounding out of my chest and my mind racing through all the possible ways that I could mess up or that I could fail. Whether that was like fail as a father, fail at business or the work I was doing, just maybe fail as a man. And in those moments, I honestly thought it meant like I was weak in some way. I told myself like successful people don't feel this way. If I can't handle this, maybe I'm just not cut out for what's on my plate. And you may have been there before. You may have felt something similar to that. Now, here's what I've learned. That anxiety that you feel, that I was feeling, like it's not there to torture us. It's not there to torture you. It's there to tell you something maybe like I know I'd been too busy and distracted or too caught up in the grind of everything to hear. And so I want to share it with you. What if that anxiety, that thing that you're feeling isn't the enemy? Like, what if those panic attacks at any time, for me, it was like a 3 a.m. attack, like aren't proof that something's wrong, but like instead it's proof that there's something in your life that just needs some additional attention. What if the fear is actually built-in wisdom, like some sort of a system there trying to wave its flag of what really matters to you? For years, I treated anxiety like some sort of that character flaw, and when we do this, like we feel like we need to fight, we feel numb, we feel outrun, burnt out, but the harder I know I fought, the louder it will get, and the louder it gets for all of us. But those late night wake ups, they only grew more intense for me over time. And so that's why today we're talking about, what this fear really is trying to tell you, how you can shift from anxiety to something that feels like, a paralyzing weakness into something really valuable, some sort of a valuable guidance system that you can actually use. Now, of course, before we dive into that, I just want to say welcome, of course, to the Giver Method channel. My name is Jake. I'm so glad you're able to join me. Let me frame up the conversation with a couple of questions. Like, have you ever found yourself wide awake at whatever time of the morning? Maybe it's late at night. Maybe it's that 3 a.m., but your heart's racing. You're terrified you're going to let down people that are counting on you. Or maybe you've wrestled with the gut-punching doubt, like wondering if you're living the wrong life entirely, questioning like every decision that got you to where you are. Or maybe it's the haunting fear that you're just not enough. Not enough as a parent, not smart enough for the role you're in, not strong enough to handle what's ahead from you. Here's why this matters so much. Here's why these things ground for so many of us and why we need to make such a difference in it. Like, if you've been lying awake at night, battling these fears, like this video is going to help you see that anxiety in this new way. You're going to learn how to stop treating it as the enemy and start using it as the guide that can point you back toward what actually matters in your life. If any of this sounds familiar, like, there's nothing wrong with you. I just want you to hear, like, you are not weak, you are not failing, you're not alone in feeling that way. There's so many people who are going to watch this video or the series of videos that I create off this that feel exactly as you do. What you're experiencing is this like anxiety that's designed to be protective. It's like a shield. It's like your fear system that you have working overtime trying to guard what matters most to you. Maybe you're a parent, and you're terrified of you're failing what your kids, you're letting them down. You're worried your overwhelm is going to affect them in ways that you can't see. Maybe you're an entrepreneur waking up to cold sweats, scared one mistake might make you lose everything that you've worked so hard to build. Or maybe you're an employee wide awake panicking about, being found out as maybe incompetent or missing something big or wasting your potential in that job that doesn't fit you. What I've discovered, like those anxiety, those 3 a.m., I'll just call them 3 a.m. anxiety no matter what time they are for you. They're not proof that you're not enough. It's proof that you care deeply about being enough for others. And so let's dive deep into that today. Like I said, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder, I'm the author of this book. It's called The Giver Method. It came out last November, and it has made an impact in tons of parents and entrepreneurs and people working with people like you. I highly recommend you get a copy. You can get it if you use the link down in the description, go to Amazon, or you can just pause the video and open up your Amazon app and go look up The Giver Method by Jake Talbert. Right now you can get it for as little as $2. And trust me, that is the best $2 you could invest in yourself. You will put things into place to help you discover your gifts and superpowers, help you to create more impact and influence in your world, value for the people around you, better relationships, live a more fulfilled life, step into who it is that you're meant to be. Like, if you're looking for that to turn the page on your life and move forward, like, this is going to be the book to do it. And it does it without burning everything down or having to move to the mountains to go find yourself. So even if you're feeling anxiety, stresses, overwhelms, everything in here, because it's grounded in my story where I am a parent, I am an entrepreneur, I've been in that corporate world. So all the stories, all action items, exercises, they're all grounded for people like you and I. So go get yourself a copy. Like I said, it will make an amazing impact in your life. The link is down in the description. Now, like I said, it is grounded in my story. And one of the things I talk about in the book is like how anxiety showed up for me. And it showed up really hard a few years back, like out of nowhere. You know, attacks would hit me like lightning in the middle of the night, leaving me, sweating, leaving me panic, deep, gasping for air, things like that. But through, I would then go through like little practices of like meditation and breath work and really learning to listen instead of fight it. I realized, like, as I started to do that, like, something incredible happened. Anxiety shows up when there's like misalignment between the current life I have and like my deeper values or needs or the person I'm trying to become. And here's the beautiful truth. Once I learned how to decode that sort of a message, like what's happening behind the fear, oh my gosh, you can actually transform what feels like your biggest struggles into one of your greatest guides. And so that's what we're covering today. I called this, there's like a fear intelligence system, right? So these are going to be 6 specific things that you can go through to help, it's designed for parents and entrepreneurs and employees to finally understand what their anxiety is trying to say and start using that information in very real and positive changes. What's wild is there's tons of data out there that supports this. There have whole sections of the book on fear and anxiety, and I loved looking up this topic so much, so I was like to share the data in it, and there's going to be tons of that throughout the whole video. But the research out there shows that people who learn to work with their anxiety rather than fight it, they're going to perform better under pressure, solve problems more effectively, and most importantly, they spend their energy not trying to silence the fear, but instead using it as wisdom and making an impact in people's lives. So let's change all that for you today. We're going to walk through these strategies to help you shift out of the panic, from the sleepless nights into like actionable clarity, so you can finally make the adjustments you need, based on what your anxiety's been trying to tell you. No, it's not about getting rid of things, it's not eliminating anxiety or pretending fear doesn't exist, because it does. But it's about realizing that your sensitivity to potential problems, it's not a flaw, it's a strength that we're going to lean into, a kind of superpower that helps you prepare and protect and even lead others to greater awareness. So every strategy we share, it's connected right back into the GIVER method, because when you can actually get to the core of that, move past the anxiety, you can start to use your authentic gifts to create more value in all areas of your life and create way more alignment. So if you want to dig deeper, once again, you can go use the link in the description to go get a copy of the book on Amazon. You can check out thegivermethod.com for more details about other ways we help people, some of our free resources, join our newsletter. And then, of course, if you're tired of battling this sort of a thing alone and you want a guide to help you, move through those sort of principles, find your gifts, and really start to make that better life for yourself, then I have a few open coaching positions that you can check out. There's a link down below about the coaching page. You can check that out. If you run a podcast, a team, mastermind, an event, some sort of a thing where, this message would serve your people, then I'd love to bring it to them in very real, practical ways. So there's a link down there about speaking and podcasting. And of course, hit subscribe to the channel, tap that bell for notifications so that you do not miss out on any of the future content we have. Like the video, leave your comments along the way. All right, let's jump in. Let's start unpacking what your fear is really trying to tell you so that you can stop fighting it and start using it as a guide that it's meant to be. And so the first thing I want to focus on, first area, is you have to actually learn to talk back to your fear. So it's learning to listen instead of wrestling with it. Most of us treat this anxiety like it's the intruder in the house, and we panic, we slam doors, we try to push it out or distract ourselves with anything just to shut it up. But if your anxiety isn't the enemy, what if it wasn't? What if it's more like a smoke alarm? It's loud, it's annoying, of course, but it's saying hey, something here needs to be paid attention to. And so here's the shift. Instead of wasting energy fighting those fears, start getting curious, because underneath your racing heart, your spiraling thoughts, anxiety is usually trying to protect you. Might not always say it in the nicest way, but it's hidden in the real information about your priorities, your values, and the place in your life that you feel the most out of sync. And so when you wake up in those moments, and your brain is screaming, instead of just try to shut it down, treat it like a conversation. Ask it all right, fear, anxiety, what are you trying to tell me here? What are you worried about? What do you need me to know? And so here's some ways, really simple, practical ways to put this into motion that can help you out a ton. Don't be surprised if a lot of the things I covered today talk about either getting out a journal or opening up a note app on your phone and jotting down thoughts, because that happens a lot. The more we write things down, and the more that we can reflect on it, the more we can notice patterns. So our first one is journal this conversation with your fear and anxiety, where you actually do grab the notebook or a note app and you just okay, well, what is the fear trying to protect me from? And write the answers. Don't judge yourself on them. Don't argue. Just listen. Just list out what it is. Look for values hiding inside of the fear. Something like, hey, I'm scared that you'll blow this meeting. Actually means hey, you care about showing up prepared. Hey, I'm terrified you're failing your kids. You know, means like, hey, you value being a loving and present parent. Like, there's a big difference there. It's not a weakness, it's just proof that you care deeply. And then track the themes. If your anxiety keeps you circling the same worry again and again, like being unprepared or disappointing people or missing out, like it's pointing at a pattern. And that's gold, because once you see the pattern, you know exactly where you can start to go focus and then turn it into one step. If fear says like you're not ready, then then prep your notes. Say like, okay, well, you're disconnected from your family. Like, put dinner on the calendar. Like, if I'm not ready, then I'm gonna just start doing something. If I feel disconnected from something, I'm gonna put on the calendar and I start doing like any action takes the fuel out of the fear cycle. Just taking any small baby step as a part of that. Because fighting anxiety, like, it actually makes it bigger. Listening to it takes the edge off. There's tons of neuroscience out there that even says that naming the fear literally calms the part of your brain that's freaking out, because it knows what it is now. And when you shift the fear, fear from feeling like it's attacking me to, hey, what is it informing me? You stop wasting energy trying to battle it, and you start using it as your guidance system. No longer is it the enemy, it's your tool that you can use. And that takes us into the second area, the second principle, which is like when anxiety becomes like a true compass for you. Because that's how you spot where life feels off track. Something that people don't realize, especially when you have recurring anxiety, like, it's not random. It's not your brain sort of glitching. A lot of the time, it's your authentic self just like waving the flag, being like, hey, something here doesn't match with who you really are. The way you're living isn't aligned with something. And if you think about it, if you're anxious at work, it might be because your job is forcing you to hide gifts that come most naturally to you. If you're anxious in your relationships, maybe it's because you're showing up in ways that aren't fully honest and aligned in the way that you should be. If you're constantly stressing about the future, it could be like your system saying like, hey, the path doesn't reflect your values. That's why I like to think of anxiety as like, it's a compass. It's here. It's not here to put you in pain or torture you, right? It's here to point you towards like the places in your life that need attention and the direction that you should be going. So here's a couple of really simple things you could do to start looking for that and using it as a compass. So the first is track those themes that are coming up, where for a couple weeks you're jotting down like when anxiety spikes happen. Do the worries always circle around work deadlines, right? Is it parenting fears? Is it financial stress? Like, patterns reveal where misalignment starts to live. And then look underneath the fear. What is this like what value is my anxiety protecting? If you're panicked about disappointing someone, it shows how much you value reliability. If you're anxious about not doing enough, it means that you care deeply about making an impact. And of course, along the way, always check for the misalignments that could be there, where you compare like your anxiety, like what are these themes that keep coming up, to the values and your natural strengths that you have. If you're anxious, in areas where you're not using your gifts, man, maybe that's what you need to do. Are your fears strongest where you feel out of sync with your identity? It's giving you the map where you should be paying attention to. And then take one aligned step. Once again, any small step, it makes a big difference. If work feels out of alignment, try bringing a little bit more of your authentic self in how you maybe lead or create or contribute, or start planning a shift of some kind. If relationships feel off, plan a real connection moment instead of just more busyness that's involved. And then let anxiety clarify the priorities that you have. The things that you start to keep you up at night are usually things that you care about the most. Instead of running from them, use them as proof of what deserves more of your energy. Because ignoring anxiety without fixing that misalignment is like putting duct tape over your car's like check engine light. Like, sure, I don't see that warning anymore, but the problem didn't go away. Okay, people who act on what anxiety is telling them instead of just like coping with the feeling, like, they're always going to have less like chronic worry, ongoing stress, and which is just going to lead towards way more life satisfaction, more delight and joy, right? Anxiety, it's not some sort of a malfunction in you. It is information. And when you learn to read it and treat it that way, it becomes one of the clearest tools for building a life that feels authentic and grounded and alive for you. And of course, that takes us to our third one, which is like turning the oh my gosh, what if this happens? What if that happens? Into like, here's how. Sometimes your worst case scenarios might be the thing that is actually going to help you. When anxiety hits, your brain spins into the wild what if stories, at whatever time that it hits, but especially if it's late at night. What if I lose my job? What if I fail my kids? What if I realize what if they realize I have no idea what I'm doing? Like, what? Does that sound familiar? And the thing is, like, those feelings, like, they feel like torture, but like they're actually trying to help you. It's your brain saying, hey, I care about this and it matters. And I'm worried that we're not ready. The problem, like, isn't the fear itself. It's the way, like, that we stop at fear and, okay, well, like, so what if this actually did happen? What can I prepare for? Like, we're stopping, we're letting the fear not let us move forward. And so we pause and ask these questions. Like, okay, hold on, stop, wait a second. What if that did happen? Is there anything I can do about it now? I had an amazing conversation on a few days ago with somebody about this, and it totally shifted this perspective. What can you do? Like, what if it did happen? What is the worst case? And then how do we prepare for that? It's a tactic that they use within the military all the time. This is where you start to actually flip this catastrophic thinking on its head. Instead of letting it spiral you into panic, you use it as some sort of a translator, turning vague fear into really practical preparation. And when you do that, two things are going to happen. Like, the fear loses its grip and you actually feel more ready for life's curveballs. So let's talk about what are the ways that you're going to be able to do this. How are some really simple ways that you can start to approach this? Well, the first thing is you write it out. The next time your brain throws these like worst case scenarios at you, don't keep it in your head. Grab a notebook, grab your phone, write it out word for word. Just seeing it on paper shrinks its power. It's amazing the power that happens when you write these sort of things out. And then it makes you process it a little differently. Then ask yourself better questions. Take the what if and flip it to, like, what if I lose my job, to, like, how would I handle it? How could I do, like, what could I do now to make myself more secure? Suddenly you're problem solving and not spiraling. How would I handle if I had lost my job? What can I do now, to be more secure? And then, of course, set a I call it a worry appointment, okay? And it might sound weird, but you give yourself 15 minutes once a week to sit down and like, think of your biggest fears. Pick one. You can actually plan it. If you're worried about money, build a budget buffer. If you're worried about parenting, brainstorm small ways you can connect with your kids this week. Sort these things, these ideas, whatever come to you, into different piles. Not every worry deserves equal airtime for you. Some things are in your control and some aren't. And focus on, like, what you can influence and practice releasing the rest. And of course, build confidence through preparation. Let your fears, like, highlight where you'd like to grow. If you're scared about financial stability, start saving or building the skills for that. If you're anxious about leadership, seek out, like, learning opportunities. Every step is going to tell your brain, like, hey, we've got this, we can do that. The catastrophic thoughts aren't proof of weakness, like, they're proof that you care. And they're your brain's way of just saying, like, hey, this matters, so let's make sure we're ready. And the kicker is, people who actually create action plans from their fears, like, they cut that rumination that happens, like, almost in half. And they're just going to feel more confident. For you, like, whether you're a parent worried about messing up, like an entrepreneur terrified about letting people down, or an employee scared of being stuck, that this is going to be a huge thing for you. Instead of the what ifs running your life, like, they become the fuel for getting stronger or wiser or more prepared for what's coming. And that takes us into the fourth one. Like, when your anxiety, like, is really all about your values, why your fear is pointing to what matters the most. I mean, we've hit on that so much. People just don't realize that a lot of the anxiety isn't danger. It's about, it's about conflict, conflict inside you. It's that gnawing feeling that you get when you're living, like, doesn't quite match with what you actually care about. And if you think about it, Sunday night dread is something that I talk about a lot. Where you're getting ready to head into the work week. Maybe it's not about the long hours. Maybe it's your system saying, hey, this job pays the bills, but it's starving your sense of purpose. Or anxiety you feel like as a parent when you're stretched too thin is probably not random. It's pointing to its deeper value of being present with your kids. It's a signal. It's, hey, something matters here. It's being compromised. It's off. And so you want to find these value-based anxieties. Like, it's less about like the monsters under the bed and more about, hey, something's off between the choices I'm making and my core self. And until you pay attention to that misalignment, no matter what, like, you could do all sorts of stress relief hacks. Like, you're never going to take the edge off. So here's a couple of ways you could approach this. The first one is ask the question the next time anxiety hits. Pause, like, okay, well, what does it reveal about, what I value? Am I anxious about failing at work? Like, once again, it's not a weakness. Your value of, excellence is showing up. Feeling guilty about parenting? Well, gosh, that's your love and responsibility speaking through. And then, like, look for gaps. Compare your actions and your values. Like, hey, If you say you value connection, but most of the time your time is being spent with surface level conversations, no wonder anxiety is showing up as loneliness. If you value creativity, but your day is full of spreadsheets, of course you're feeling drained of energy. And then let this fear guide, ways that you could tweak little things. Take one recurring anxiety and make it small, value-driven adjustment with it. Make your work feel less empty. Look for ways to bring your purpose into your current role. Like before you try to jump ship or make some big change. If family presence is your value, design moments of undistracted connection this week. Like just find whatever those little things could be for you. Protect your values in small ways. Like you have to, once again, we don't have to blow up your life as a part of this. Just start with one small shift that honors what matters to you most. Whether that's just you spend some time tonight, I'm going to spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes on something very important to me tonight, or how I'm going to approach tomorrow's meeting, whatever it is. And then check these choices, whatever you're doing, in real time before you say yes, or no to something. Hey, if I said yes, did I say no? Does it honor my values, or does it just keep me looking responsible? And these little pauses shift things for you throughout the day. Because if you're treating anxiety like random static, you're missing the message that's underneath all of it. Anxiety at its core is that compass. When you listen, it points you straight back to what actually gives you energy and meaning. Now, our fifth one is all about the quick calms that actually work. How to steady yourself when fear hits hard. This might be some of the best ones. These are things I know I've put into practice myself. It's one thing to talk about how let's decode the anxiety, but when you're in the middle of that spiral, I call them the 3 a.m. spiral, whatever, or you're sitting at your desk with your chest tight, or it's something you need something that you can use right then in those moments. It's hard to think about how to decode or break it down if you're so tense and caught up, right? So you need these tools to help get you out of panic and back to clear thinking. So these are these quick calms that I want you to think about. They don't erase anxiety. Things can't, but they remind your body, okay, we're good, we're safe, you've got this, and you can handle this. Most of us make make the anxiety that we're having, we make it worse because then we start fighting it. We're trying to work past it. We're trying to grind through it. But if you can catch it and give your nervous system something specific to do, you interrupt its cycle. Instead of spending hours spiraling, you bring the episode down to 2 minutes. Every time you do that, you build proof of what you're capable of. I can handle whatever this fear is when it shows up. So these might be the ones that you want to take some good notes on. So the first one is breathe, breath work. You got to breathe your way back. So you can try, there's 4-7-8 method, okay? So you're going to breathe in for 4, you're going to hold for 7, and exhale for 8. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. Do that a few times. It is telling your body we're safe. It starts to calm your fight or flight system that is paired with anxiety and these types of fears. You practice it even when you're calm. You can calm anxieties almost automatically when it starts to strike. So think about those breathwork. There's breathwork apps. There's all sorts of things that can help you with that. As a part of it. And then that leads us to the next one, which is some people refer to it as meditation or prayer, or there's a grounding yourself in the now. And so there's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule. So it's okay, hold on. What are 5 things that you can see? Look around. What are the 5 things I can see? What can I, what are 4 things I could touch, and just feel the different textures? What are 3 things I hear right now? Or 2 things that you could smell? What's 1 thing you can taste? It snaps your brain out of these what ifs, and it anchors in oh my gosh, it's real. I can feel the desk, and it feels different than the paper, and it feels different than, my keyboard or whatever. I can hear people in the next office. It shifts your thinking as a part of that. Next, you can set a timer for fear, where it's okay, I'm feeling this, and I'm giving myself 10 minutes to feel it. And look, anxiety, do your thing. But hey, once this timer goes off, I'm going to pick an action step. I've got a thing I'm doing, no matter how small it is. It prevents endless spiraling while still honoring your emotions. It's okay, I'm giving you the time to feel the way you need to feel, but now we need to move forward. Another one, move your body, stand up, stretch, walk around. Anxiety, it dumps adrenaline and what's the other one? Cortisol into your system, and movement helps burn it off so that you don't stay stuck in that moment. And of course, talk to someone, talk to yourself like you're a friend. Instead of hey, why can't I handle this? It's, hey, this fear is here because I care deeply about something important. Show yourself self-compassion. It calms your system way faster than self-criticism ever will. Because if you've got those sort of tools that you can trust, you can stop being afraid, of the fear itself. man, it starts to shift when you're like, oh, I've got these tools. It's all good. When that shows up, I'm all good. I've got my tools that I use to bounce back. You go from thinking like, what if I can't handle this, to like, hey, even if it does show up, I know what to do. People who practice any sort of technique like this, they always bounce back faster and they feel more confident under stress. And for you, whether you're a parent juggling everything, an entrepreneur with people depending on you, or an employee worried about like being exposed, it means anxiety doesn't get to run the show anymore. Now that takes us to the sixth and final one, leading with calm, even when fear shows up. So there's sustainable systems for managing anxiety and honoring the wisdom that you've learned along the way. The goal isn't to wipe out anxiety forever. That's not realistic. It doesn't happen. The goal is to learn how to lead your life with calm, even if fear shows up in the room. So like, how is that like you lead with calm? It's about knowing like, yeah, anxiety's here, fear's here, but it doesn't run the show. I can listen to what it's saying, take the wisdom, and still move forward. For parents, it means being able to stay steady when your kids like are melting down, even if like you've got your own storm going on the inside. For entrepreneurs, it's showing up for your team and your clients, even on days where your brain is whispering like, what if all this falls apart? Or as an employee, if it keeps you focusing on delivering your job in a great way, even while you maybe have that imposter voice trying to distract you. Leading from calm doesn't mean you don't feel that fear or anxiety. It just means you built the system and habits to handle it when it comes. You know how to catch it early, keep perspective, and then keep showing up for what really matters. So this is where it's going to take that last principle, number 5, and combine it with this, where it's like, great, well, number 1, let's plan for the signals. Know how to catch the warning signs, the tightness in the chest, the racing thoughts, snapping, at people. Like, have your playbook ready. Like, okay, well, what are my breathing techniques? How am I journal? What's my walk? How do I talk to myself? Don't wait until you're in a full-blown panic to try and figure that out. Plan ahead for it. And then be real about it. Anxiety feels a lot lighter when you stop pretending that you don't have it. Like, you don't have to overshare, but sometimes just telling your kids like, hey, dad feels nervous at times. Here's how I handle it. Or letting your team see you pause and regroup. It's like, it's powerful. It normalizes fear as and different models of resilience. You can use fear as the consultant, not like a boss. Next time anxiety is chiming in, piping up to you like, hey, what are you worried about? Pull out the parts that are useful, thank it for the input, and then make a decision based on your values, avoiding discomfort. Build the rhythms, not band-aids. Don't wait until you're panicking to try calming techniques. Set up weekly, daily habits for breathing or reflection or journaling or prayer or whatever helps you reset. Consistency builds the resilience. And then design for the calm. Pay attention to your environment, your routines. Maybe you need a quiet space in your house that feels peaceful. Maybe you need to stop spreading hours, spending the hours with people who are draining you. Maybe you need to schedule, needs. Like, I've got white space specifically so I can go back to, I can get back to things that matter, not back-to-back chaos. Those are choices that create calm instead of waiting for it. Because the people in your life, they don't need you to be fearless. They need you to just be steady and authentic. Steadiness comes from knowing how to lead yourself even when the anxiety and fear comes. It shows up in all sorts of ways. Your sensitivity isn't like a flaw, it's a gift. And you learn to channel it. You stop, running from the fear and you start using it to lead with calm and presence and create more impact in those around you. Now, what I've learned, and I really want you to take away, like this anxiety that, like I said, I just call it the 3 a.m. anxiety, no matter how it shows up. Like, it's not your enemy. It's not proof you're weak or broken or failing in any sort of way. It's that internal system, like kicking into overdrive, trying to get your attention that something matters to you and it's off. The strategies we walked through today, from having a real conversation with your fear to spotting misalignment to translating like the catastrophic what ifs into practice prep, like whatever it may be, like they're a whole new way to relate to anxiety. Instead of seeing it as something to fight, you can work with it. Instead of letting it paralyze you, you turn it into fuel and guidance. When you do this, fear shifts. It stops feeling like the weight you're dragging around, and it feels like the proof of how deeply you care. Your episodes become shorter, less overwhelming, because how to what to do with them. And the biggest change, you begin making choices based on your anxiety, what it's pointing you to, your values, your priorities, your authentic needs, rather than just trying to silence it. Anxiety isn't proof that there's anything wrong. More often than not, it's just proof that something in your life needs some attention. The late night worry about your kids, it's showing how much you want to be a present for them. The fear about your business or your career is reminding you of the impact or the contribution you want to make. Your sensitivity it's designed for this. It's built as an early warning system. The world doesn't need people pretending that they never fear things. It needs people like you who have your unique gifts and superpowers and experiences who can only make the impact that you can make. Who learn to turn fear into wisdom and use worry as preparation, and who model calm and confidence even in the middle of uncertainty. Now, of course, if this video landed for you in any sort of a way and you want to go deeper, like I said, since it is all grounded in my book, The Giver Method, I highly recommend you use the link in the description and go get yourself while it's still as little as $2 on Amazon. Like I said, go down, get it on the link, pause the video, go check it out. You can head over to thegivermethod.com, check out all the details there. Like the Giver Method, it's the framework for turning your gifts into superpowers, even your sensitivity to impact, that feels fulfilling instead of overwhelming. And then if you wanted more personal attention to that sort of thing, you're tired of battling this sort of stuff alone, then I've opened up some limited coaching spots where we're helping people exactly like you turn these sort of fears into compasses, where they want to go. There's a link down below if that sounds right for you. You could check it out. If you run a team, a podcast, an event, a community where this message could serve them, then I'd love to bring it to that audience in a very real, practical way that creates a ton of value for them. So you'll find a link about speaking and podcasting. Before you go, let me know in the comments what hit home for you today. I read every single one of them. I love hearing what lands. And of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell if you haven't already, so you keep seeing these videos as I produce them. Keep the message in front of yourself. Share it with someone else who may need it. Here's the truth. Your anxiety isn't proof that it's not proof that you're not strong enough. It's proof that you care deeply. And the version of you that you've been waiting to meet, it's already on the other side of just learning to listen to fear instead of trying to fight it. And so let's go find it. Let's go step into that who we're meant to be and make that impact that you're meant to make. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and watching the video. Hopefully we'll catch you in our next one. Have a great rest of your day.